Right now, as you watch this, there are people who claim to speak for God, but 400 years ago, one man didn't just claim to speak for Allah, he claimed to be his equal. His name was Musaylima, and his story is so disturbing that the Prophet Muhammad himself called him the greatest liar. Imagine a man so deluded, so arrogant that he forged divine revelations, who built an army of 40,000 warriors to fight against Islam itself, who looked at the message of truth and declared war on it. For a brief moment in history, it seemed like this false prophet might actually succeed. Arabia teetered on the edge of spiritual catastrophe. But what happened when this false prophet declared war on Allah will leave you speechless. The year was 632 CE. Prophet Muhammad had just passed away. Arabia was in mourning, but it was also in chaos. Tribes that had submitted to Islam began questioning their allegiance. Without the Prophet's presence, doubt crept in like poison through a wound. And in the heart of Central Arabia, in a region called Yamama, one man saw opportunity in this chaos. His name was Musaylima ibn Habib, but soon the entire Muslim world would know him by another name, al-Kadhdhab, the liar. Who was this man who dared to rival the messenger of Allah? Musaylima was no fool. He was intelligent, charismatic, a skilled orator from the powerful Banu Hanifa tribe. During the Prophet's lifetime, he had even traveled to Medina as a part of a delegation. He stood before the messenger of Allah. He heard the Quran. He witnessed the unity of the believers, but instead of submission, his heart filled with jealousy. The people of Yamama, proud and resistant to outside authority, began to listen. His tribe saw an opportunity to have their own prophet, their own glory. But Allah was watching. And they said this could be said to do too. Musaylima started producing revelations, twisted mockeries of divine speech. His verses were nonsensical, broken, laughable to anyone with understanding. One of his fabrications went, "The frog croaks but does not block the water." Compare this childish rambling to the miraculous eloquence of the Quran, and the difference is like comparing mud to diamonds. Yet thousands believed him. Why? Because humans are weak. Pride, tribalism, the desire for power. These things can blind people to the most obvious truths. Musaylima's following grew. His influence spread. He began exempting his followers from prayers, from fasting, from the very pillars of Islam. Too difficult, he said. My revelation makes things easier. This was only the beginning. He even wrote to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, the first caliph, with words so arrogant they burned, from Musaylima, messenger of Allah, to Muhammad, messenger of Allah, let us share Arabia between us. He wanted war. The false prophet's blasphemy knew no bounds. He married another false prophetess named Saja, a woman who claimed her own revelation. Their marriage contract itself was mockery. She revealed her followers didn't need to pray. He revealed they would conquer all of Arabia. Two liars, one delusion, thousands of followers. Could this be a sign of something darker? Fear spread through the Muslim community like wildfire. Islam had just lost its prophet. Now apostasy was spreading. Tribes were abandoning the truth. Some began to whisper, maybe Musaylima is right. Maybe there can be multiple prophets. But Abu Bakr radiallahu anh knew the truth. This wasn't just political rebellion, this was spiritual warfare. If Musaylima succeeded, Islam itself would be destroyed. Something had to be done. Abu Bakr assembled an army, and to lead it, he chose the most feared warrior in Arabia, Khalid ibn al-Walid, radiallahu anhu, the sword of Allah. Would you have stood firm or followed the false prophet? Musaylima heard the Muslim army was coming, but he didn't flee. He didn't surrender. He gathered his forces, over 40,000 men from Banu Hanifa and allied tribes. They fortified themselves in the gardens of Yamama, preparing for the battle that would decide Arabia's future. The desert itself seemed to rebel against him. The two armies met at dawn. The air was thick with tension. Swords gleamed in the early light. Men recited their final prayers. Then, chaos. Musaylima's forces fought with desperate fury. They pushed the Muslim army back. For a moment, a terrible moment, it seemed the false prophet might actually win. Muslim warriors began to fall. Companions of the prophet gave their lives. Hundreds of Hafiz, those who had memorized the entire Quran, died on that battlefield. But what happened on the battlefield shocked everyone. Khalid ibn al-Walid regrouped. He looked at his men and said something that would be remembered forever. "We're not fighting for land or gold. We're fighting for truth itself." They charged again, harder, faster, driven by faith that no false prophet could match. The Muslim forces broke through enemy lines like a divine flood. They pushed Musaylima's army back, until the false prophet's warriors retreated to a fortified garden. This place would earn a name, Hadikat al-Maut, the Garden of Death. Alai! The fighting grew so intense that men couldn't hear their own screams. Swords shattered, shields broke, the ground ran red. Most people don't know what his last words were. Musaylima tried to flee. He abandoned his followers, his army, his lies, and ran like the coward he always was. But the way he died will haunt you. Two warriors found him hiding among the dead. One was Wahshi ibn Harb, the same man who had killed Hamza radiallahu an at Uhud, then converted to Islam seeking redemption. The other was Abu Dujana al-Ansari, a legendary fighter who had sworn to end the false prophet with his own hands. Wahshi raised his spear, the same weapon that had killed the prophet's uncle. This time it would kill the prophet's greatest enemy. He threw. The spear struck Musaylima in the chest, but he didn't die. Not yet. He stumbled, gasped. Blood poured from his mouth. His eyes, once burning with arrogance, now wide with terror. And then, the moment everyone was waiting for. Ginanam, Abu Dujana charged forward and drove his sword through the false prophet's neck. Musaylima al-Kadhdhab fell, dead, defeated, destroyed. The man who claimed to be Allah's messenger died like any other liar, choking on his own blood, realizing too late that all his deception had led to nothing but his own destruction. Something shifted on the battlefield the moment he fell. His followers, who had fought with such fury, suddenly stopped. They looked at his corpse and understood the truth they had been denying. A true prophet wouldn't die like this. A messenger of Allah wouldn't be defeated by believers. Everything he claimed was a lie. The battle ended. Over 21,000 of Musaylima's followers lay dead. The survivors surrendered, broken and disillusioned. Tattadi, the Banu Hanifa tribe, once proud and defiant, returned to Islam in humiliation. They had followed a false prophet to the gates of destruction. News of Musaylima's death spread across Arabia like wind across sand. Other false prophets heard what happened and either surrendered or fled. The message was clear. No deception can stand against truth when Allah decrees its end. Khalid ibn al-Walid stood over the garden of death and wept, not for the apostates who died in delusion, but for the Muslim martyrs who gave everything for truth. History preserved Musaylima's name with eternal shame, al-Kadhdhab, the liar. While the Prophet Muhammad is remembered with blessings and peace, Musaylima is remembered with contempt. Musaylima's story isn't just ancient history, it's a warning that echoes through time. He had charisma, followers, an army, influence, power. But he lacked one thing: truth. And without truth, everything else crumbles to dust. Today, false prophets still arise, those who twist Islam, who add to the religion, who claim special authority that contradicts authentic teaching. So ask yourself, what false voices are you following today? What comfortable lies are you accepting because they require less from you? Remember, Musaylima, remember that deception always falls when confronted with truth. Subscribe. The next story may reveal an even darker chapter of history.